You must all be wondering, why Pakistan? Why is Pakistan playing such an important role mediating this conflict between the United States and Iran? What does Pakistan have to offer? The short answer is everything. Welcome to Realpolitik with Zaidi, where the world's a Hobbesian jungle and nation states fight to stay alive. Just like Iran right now is fighting to stay alive. And Pakistan perhaps is the only country which can help it survive. Sure, right now, Pakistan might be the only country with the closest ties to Iran and the only gateway to Iran for the United States. But why does the United States value Pakistan so much? For this, we have to go back in time to the 1950s. Back at the start of the Cold War, Pakistan became the most allied non-NATO country for the United States. It was a part of multiple pacts such as SEATO and CENTO. It was a bulwark against the spread of communism from Central Asia to South Asia and the Middle East. And Pakistan was rewarded handsomely with multiple aid packages and military armaments. President Eisenhower was the first American president to visit Pakistan. After that, Lyndon B. Johnson visited Pakistan a decade later in the 60s. And between that time, Jackie Kennedy, President Kennedy's wife, also visited Pakistan. And she loved Pakistan. She was gifted a horse by the president of Pakistan, Field Marshal Ayub Khan, at that time. He wasn't a field marshal at that time. It was before 1965 when she visited. Anyhow, President Nixon after LBJ was a great friend of Pakistan's. In fact, Pakistan was the country that helped kickstart the relationship between the US and China because it facilitated a secret trip of Kissinger's to China, which you can find out more about. The link for it's right above. You can click on it and find out more about that secret trip to China, which started the relationship between these two countries. President Nixon, in fact, even sent an aircraft carrier during the war between India and Pakistan in December of 1971, but it was of no use because Pakistan lost one half of the country, East Pakistan, which later became Bangladesh. Anyhow, then this cooperation went well into the 80s because at that time, during the height of the Cold War, when the USSR had invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan was the frontline state against the fight in the fight against communism, and it was supplying irregular forces, or the Mujahideen as they still are called, to fight against the Soviets in Afghanistan. America was sending aid to Pakistan, so was Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan was the frontline state in launching these proxy elements into Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. And the president at that time, Reagan, he really appreciated Pakistan's role, and Pakistan was given a lot of military aid. So much so, the alliance was so close, and the relationship was, even though it was fraught with challenges, which we'll talk about more because these challenges really exacerbated during the war on terror of the 2000s and 2010s. But even at that time, there were some challenges because Pakistan was actively developing nuclear weapons. But America either looked the other way, or they might have given the go-ahead to the Pakistanis in secret, because Pakistan was able to develop and launch nuclear weapons in 1998 and show to the world at that time, right after India's launch of nuclear weapons, that Pakistan was a nuclear power as well. Then comes 2000s when OBL launches attacks on the US, and then the US is forced to invade Afghanistan, which was a war of necessity. Pakistan became an ally of the US and helped the US crush these terrorist elements operating in the name of Islam, wrongly operating in the name of Islam, by the way. And there were a lot of challenges at that time because Pakistan was amicable with some of these groups, and the US didn't like that. But despite those challenges, Pakistan and the US maintained a working relationship for almost 2 decades till 2021. And right after the US withdrew from Afghanistan, the relationship took a setback because Biden didn't value or trust the Pakistanis. But since Trump came back to office, in his first address to Congress, he was able to announce the capture of the Abbey Gate bomber. And you know who made this possible for him? Pakistan. CIA provided intelligence to Pakistan, and then Pakistan was able to capture this notorious terrorist in the border region with Afghanistan and present him to the Americans. So this is one way that Field Marshal Asim Munir was able to build goodwill with President Trump. Then came the war of May 2025, known as Operation Sindoor in India, in which Pakistan was able to give a beating to the Indians, and India was forced to ask America to have Pakistan de-escalate. The Indians were on their knees, literally, after their planes were shot down, then after Pakistan launched a barrage of missiles against Indian military installations. Once this happened, happened, Trump was quite intrigued by the man running Pakistan. And he wanted to have a meeting with Field Marshal Asim Munir. And they did have a meeting. The Field Marshal and the US President had a luncheon in the White House in June of last year, where the meeting, which was supposed to be held for only 20 minutes, went well over 2 hours. And they developed rapport, the two of them. This rapport, or this, I would say, friendship, it kind of grew with Pakistan then nominating Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, nominating President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize and giving President Trump all the accolades and flattering him basically for ending the Indo-Pak War, which Trump really loved. And he's talked about this on multiple occasions. He's boasted about this on multiple occasions because he likes to glorify him as himself as a peacemaker. So the Pakistanis basically learned and they began to flatter Trump in the way which really made him love the Pakistanis. And he's talked about this on an occasion that he loves flattery. So Pakistanis were able to get in his good books this way. Then Pakistan also joined the Board of Peace. On top of this, Pakistan was able to offer crypto deals and mining deals to the Trump administration, and also had some real estate dealings with Steve Witkoff, his envoy, special envoy. Now comes this war with Iran, where Iran has turned hostile after February 28th, after the Americans and the Israelis attacked Iran preemptively. After this, Iran launched a barrage of attacks against all its neighbors, Oman, Qatar, and even Turkey. So Iranians destroyed any and all goodwill they had with their neighbors. Before, the talks with the Iranians used to be conducted in Qatar or in Oman, but why would Oman or Qatar host the Iranians again when the Iranians were firing missile salvos at them? And even if it was possible, let's say, for Qatar or Oman to hold the Iran's talks with the Americans, the fact of the matter is that the Iranians would not have been secure in either Qatar or in Oman. Why, you may ask? Well, don't you remember back in September, I guess, August or September last year, when Israel attacked the mediators from Hamas staying in Qatar with the permission of the US? Israel just attacked them and killed them, and there was nothing that Qatar could do about it. So how could these Iranian negotiators be safe in Qatar or in Oman? But you may say that these negotiators, Iranian leaders, could have been safe in Turkey, because Turkey has a very strong military, a very strong air force, and an army, and Israel would not dare have attacked them in Turkey. Sure, you might be right, but Turkey doesn't enjoy very, very close relationships with the US and Iran. I mean, it does have relationships with both these countries, but not as strong as the relationship that Pakistan enjoys with both these countries. I've talked about the relationship that Pakistan has with the US in detail. Now, coming to the relationship Pakistan has with Iran, Iran was the first country to recognize Pakistan in 1947. Pakistan has the same Persian roots as Iran does. 200 years ago, in the region which is now Pakistan and India, Persian was the official or the court language of the whole subcontinent. Then Pakistan has the second largest Shia population in the world after Iran. In fact, in terms of global representation, because Iran does not have a US embassy and neither does US have an Iranian embassy, it's Pakistan that represents Iran in the United States. Sure, Iran and Pakistan have had their challenges. Iran accuses Pakistan of harboring Baloch separatists. So does Pakistan, by the way. And they've even lobbed missiles at each other. Missiles just hitting empty areas, not causing any damages. They lobbed missiles at each other back in January 24. So yes, they have had challenges, but the relationship has markedly improved since the last 2 years. And then the Iranian president even visited Pakistan last year and signed multiple MOUs. So Pakistan is as close to Iran as any country can get close to Iran in this current situation, in these circumstances. So now we know that why America can only have talks with Iran through Pakistan, or why Pakistan is the main country through which the US can have talks with Iran. But why is Pakistan so persistent? Why has Pakistan been so mind-bogglingly determined in hosting these talks and getting both the US and Iran to agree to having negotiations? Because no matter if these Lombard talks failed or succeeded, the fact that the Iranians and the Americans were able to sit on the table together after 47 years and have such high-level direct talks after 47 years, it's a miracle in itself. And it shows the amount of effort that Pakistan put into it. It shows the lengths to which Pakistan went to make sure these talks happened. Why though? What's in Pakistan's interest? Why is Pakistan doing all this? Very simply put, Pakistan has the most to lose if this war exacerbates. Pakistan has has a strategic mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia. If the war had exacerbated any further, and if Iran had launched more attacks on Saudi Arabia, if Iran had destroyed oil fields in Saudi Arabia, Pakistan would have been forced to come to the rescue of Saudi Arabia and launch defensive attacks on Iran possibly. This would have been a nightmare for Pakistan, because Pakistan, as I said before, has the world's second largest Shia population, which is very sympathetic to Iran's government, to Iran's regime. And you saw this on February 29th, when after the news spread of Ayatollah Khamenei's assassination, his shahadat, Shia protesters in Karachi and Skardu, they took to the streets and they attacked basically the US consulate in Karachi. They attacked army installations in Skardu. So Pakistan cannot afford this sectarian schism, this sectarian internal war, if the war exacerbates further and if Iran and the Saudi Arabia have an outright confrontation. That's one reason. The second reason is that, like most developing countries in the global south, Pakistan cannot bear the high oil prices. Its economy is very fragile. It's a debt-ridden country. It doesn't have any strategic oil reserves. It has to, come what may, it has to stop this war from going on any longer, just for the sake of its own economy, for the sake of providing for its people. So this sums up why Pakistan is crucial, is the only country which can play a very important and positive role in ending this conflict. But Pakistan, I would applaud the diplomatic efforts of the government, because Pakistan has not gone through this alone. Pakistan has not tried doing this alone. It has involved key countries in the region. It invited Turkey, the foreign ministers of Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt to Pakistan just a week before these talks happened, to make sure every one of these countries was on the same page as Pakistan. These countries were privy to what Pakistan was doing, and these countries also played a part in making these negotiations happen. There's been a lot of back channel talks which most media personnel or most people of the general public are not aware of. And then Pakistan's foreign minister Ishaq Dar, which I've talked about in another video, there's a link for it right above, went to China to convey the messages and to convey what was happening vis-a-vis the US and Iran to China. Because Pakistan, it's close to all the Gulf countries, it's very close to Iran, it's close to the US, but it's the closest to China. It's an ironclad brother of China's. Give me an example of one country which enjoys such close ties with both an existing superpower, the US, and the emerging superpower, China. I can't think of any examples. I can't think of any country which enjoys ties to the extent that Pakistan does with both these countries. And again, it's kudos to Pakistan's diplomacy and its strategic calculations that has been able to walk this tightrope. So Pakistan must have, and this has not been covered, this has not been told to any media outlets, but I'm sure, and I'm guessing over here, making assumptions, Pakistan must have asked China to give security guarantees to Iran. And I don't know if China did this, but we do know it's in the public realm that China pushed Iran to actually come to the negotiating table at the last stage, just when Trump's deadline was about to expire just a couple of days ago. So Pakistan is doing all it can to contain this war, and it's trying to save not just the Iranian civilization, but it's also going out of its way to save the global economy. And all the leaders of the world must give credit to Pakistan for this, including, I dare say, India's. Thanks for watching, and take care, guys. Do not forget to subscribe, to hit that bell icon right now. You'd be glad you did it.